Okay, earlier today on social media, I asked all y'all for any positive legacies for Margaret Thatcher. I had high hopes. And Colleen Cantek said she signed an Anglo-Irish agreement which paved the way for eventual peace in Northern Ireland after letting hunger strikers die. 10 to be exact. And Rusty Cannon said Margaret Thatcher taught me to be just as wary of wealthy, power-hungry women as I am of wealthy, power-hungry men. In fairness, she wasn't born wealthy. She just made her friends very, very wealthy. But I agree, and maybe someday women will even get the same pay as men for being just as awful. Tweet your comments to us at Viewpoint CTV or at John Fugelsang, or use the hashtag Viewpoint, or post it on our Facebook page. Now, certainly, undeniably, the world has very mixed feelings about the late Margaret Thatcher. For liberals, she was the heartless Tory who broke the unions, caused massive layoffs, deregulated the banks, called Nelson Mandela's African National Congress, quote, a terrorist organization. For conservatives, she's the Iron Lady who wrestled power from the state to private industry. And look at how well that turned out. For the American GOP, she's an icon, even though Republicans have no place for a politician who did raise taxes, who did believe in climate change science, who did support socialized medicine and gun regulation. So at the end of the day, who was this fascinating, complex person? Let's bring that question to my panel tonight. I'm so pleased to welcome writer, comedian, and founder of nationwide animal rescue Tales of Joy, Elayne Boosler, Tina Dupuy, the syndicated columnist and editor-in-chief at thecontributor.com, and making her debut on the show, comedian and writer Molly Knefel, who co-hosts Radio Dispatch at theradiodispatch.com. Thank you all so much for joining me. And I wanted to get three really smart, complex women to talk about this very smart, very flawed, very complex woman. Let me start with you, Elayne. What are your initial thoughts on the passing of Lady Thatcher?
Well, when we roomed together, when we were at the Barbizon, she was such a messy thing, and she kept eating my yogurt. I had to write my name on the grapefruit. And
you taught her about the hairspray, right?
I taught her about the hairspray, and of course the pearl legacy, which darling Tina has carried through to this evening. The pearls as well. And, you know, it's amazing people are having parties in England over her death, which is kind of rude no matter how you slice it. And I'm just fascinated that Reagan was just lauded as a whole here as the savior and everything. And to me, she's just the flip side of him for the most part.
Well, that's really interesting because, you know, Tina, when Ronald Reagan died in America, there were a lot of people who despised him. But when Margaret Thatcher died today, we got to see how there are people in the UK who hate her. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen Americans have this much joy over someone's passing. Were you surprised to see that kind of glee in social media today?
Well, we were talking about this in the green room, and I think that the Brits, because they never had their revolution, because they never got to send any royals to the guillotine, that they had their moment today with the Iron Lady. So I think that they are singing their praises that they've never got to experience as a people before, because she really was awful to the working class. I mean, they have a legitimate beef. I think it's ghoulish. However, I think the Brits really never had their time to you know, see these people fall.
Well, I guess so. I mean, there's certainly been a lot of loathing over the past 30 years towards her. But Molly, I wanted to ask you, because I was a kid of the 80s, and I grew up, you know, being a teenager during the time of the Thatcher controversies. But a lot of people don't even remember the Thatcher era. I'm guessing you might be one of those. Do you remember really if you were aware of her when you were growing up, or what your thoughts of her have been?
Well, I was pretty young when she
finger painting.
I was in kindergarten when she left office, and I think you know, like a lot of people my age who don't have a super extensive knowledge about Thatcher, I associate her with Reagan, and actually about the idea that you aren't supposed to, you know, speak ill of the dead. Glenn Greenwald had a great column in The Guardian today arguing that that's misguided because people who want to exploit Margaret Thatcher, people who agree with Margaret Thatcher, will not hesitate to speak about her politics. And we saw that with Reagan. You know, after Reagan died, for weeks it was a celebration of Reagan's policies, and there was a kind of gag order for criticizing him.
Exactly, and no one's been shy about saying how much they love her, but don't you dare talk about the consequences of these policies.
I'm just happy that people aren't conflating her with Julia Childs.
Well, yeah, Meryl Streep didn't win an Oscar for Julia Childs.
Well, right. right, and both of them led us here, which is the same policies led us to where both countries are. Apartments are $80 million, and you know, no one really can afford a tuna fish sandwich. But my disappointment is I had a favorite quote for many decades, and it was by François Giscard d'Estaing, which said, "True equality will only be achieved when we have mediocre women in high positions."
That's fantastic.
Now, that was my favorite quote until Sarah Palin. I'm serious. And then I realized we didn't get true equality, and we got the mediocre women. Where in the saying did we miss something?
But it's a great point, though.
That's such an important point to make, because everyone's talking how she's the first PM, the first female PM, and I really think that what she is most noted for is being the last. That she didn't open doors for other women.
Very good point.
That there have been others, and she didn't bring other women up with her. She did the exact opposite of that.
But doesn't she stand, as Elayne said, as a really effective role model, in that she wasn't a saint, and she's not going to be canonized, and by the fact of saying that women are just as morally complex as men and just as prone, you'll forgive me, fans, to the moral failings of men. I mean, the suffering that have been caused by her policies. And again, I'm trying to make the distinction to not badmouth her, but badmouth the policies. And isn't it even more instructive for women to say, look, women can accomplish great things, but they can screw things up along the way? Isn't that an even more powerful feminist message?
Well, I think we know that. I mean, we didn't
well,
need
I don't
her
get that in the media.
We didn't need her to destroy the unions for us.
Right, when there's, I mean, but I mean, why do we have to, it's like, we never, when a powerful man dies, we never go, is he a great role model for boys?
Yeah.
You know, but it's
we
still,
should, though.
right, but we don't, and we do that with women. Isn't this a great, shouldn't little girls look up to this person? No. The answer is, we don't really.
Right, when there's so few women in power, then women are suddenly put in this position where we have to be like, I mean, I guess it's okay that Margaret Thatcher was in power, but really it was, you know, it's good. Gender equality is always good. Women in power, more women in power is good, but when this particular woman used her power to make the lives of families and women and children much worse, then that's not really a feminist victory.
Well, it was a Milton Friedman, Friedman, excuse me, victory. I mean, she was an ideologue. She wasn't exactly a woman. She wasn't a feminist. She's definitely not a feminist icon.
You're right.
She's an ideologue.
Well, she was a woman because they didn't let her into the club that all the prime ministers get to join.
But does she get credit for that? Does she get credit for breaking that ceiling?
Oh, of course she does, and I think so. I mean, I'm the only one who was born and reading the papers at this point.
Okay, so let me ask you that. Do you think, considering that she, as a young member of parliament, did stand up to decriminalize homosexuality, she believed in climate change science, she did raise taxes, would she be accepted by today's American conservatives?
Well, no, she wasn't insane. She actually had a plan. She fought it out. She wasn't crazy. These people are crazy. I mean, she would probably be fighting in this day and age in our country most of the things that these people are fighting to bring back, which is the enslavement of women again. Really, it really is in so many ways.
And she compromised. I mean, that's the kind of buried lead on her bio, is that she compromised. She raised taxes. She lost fights. She compromised. That's what the Republicans today, they do not compromise. It's they will not raise, they will not do this, they will not do this, they will not do this. Margaret
and
Thatcher
Obama
did.
compromises with himself. He surrenders before he has the fight.
Yes, that's
fascinating.
Harry Reid. That's Harry Reid. He's willing to compromise before folding. I do have some positive things to say about Maggie Thatcher coming up right after the break. Stick around.